Okay, on to our next, Mr. Barrow Emerson, the Unified Corridor Investment Study.
This is an even-numbered item.
Yes. So you get to talk.
Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
Board members, I put a color version of this document in your packets because, as you know, it was black and white. I have others here for the public if they'd like them. And I'm not going to go through it. I just thought it would be more helpful to have something that distinguished colors. Anyway, thank you, Chair, board members, staff, and guests. I'm here to provide the board with an update on Metro's participation and our role in the Unified Corridor study being developed by RTC. First thing I want to say is really strong and clear. Metro is not at this time advocating for any particular outcome as far as modes and results and decisions. Rather, we strongly support the analytical process, which should provide some objective data on ridership and costs, and that's both capital and operating costs, from which to make informed decisions. As everyone knows, the Step 1 analysis is complete now, and there are now 4 scenarios being analyzed, each of which assumes some form of bus transit in each of the 3 corridors under discussion. I want to give you a quick overview of the bus concepts in each of the 3 corridors. I'll be very quick with the first 2. In the SoCal Avenue Drive and Freedom Boulevard corridor, the concepts for buses are called Bus Rapid Transit Light. And the light infers not building a lane for buses on SoCal or Freedom. But as you will hear me, and I have said to many of you individually before, Bus Rapid Transit is not a singular product. It's a menu of features of which you pick and choose. In this case, the SoCal and Freedom ideas include things like queue jumps at signals, transit signal priority throughout a corridor, off-board payment to speed up boarding, so those types of things. So I'll leave that for the moment. Secondly, the Highway 1 corridor has 2 bus transit scenarios in it. One is the bus on shoulders concept, which is meant to be a relatively low-cost way of getting some transit speed in a freeway. The other option being considered is the full-on high-occupancy vehicle lane, which has been a topic in this county for many years. I want to move on to the rail corridor, where I think most of the misunderstanding, controversy, and community angst is. The bus rapid transit concept in this corridor. First, a quick definition of bus rapid transit. I kind of already said it. Bus rapid transit does not need to be a continuous and identical operating environment like rail. You got to have rail from one end to the other. So, if I can reference this map here quickly in no detail. With bus rapid transit, the goal is to provide the transit priority where it's cost effective, while remembering you need to serve important origins and destinations, which may or may not be along the specific corridor in this case. This is the 5th city I've worked in and where I've been involved in BRT and light rail planning. And in most cases, the concepts include for bus rapid transit have included multiple operating environments along a single corridor. In my Perth, Western Australia thing, I had 6 operating environments in 20 miles. You grabbed what was appropriate and available physically. Bus rapid transit also lends itself to staged implementation over the years. You may stay in a city street for a few years until the cost of effectiveness of moving into a priority facility, the money's available and the cost effectiveness makes sense. So the graphic overhead shows the ideas being considered for bus rapid transit in the rail corridor. Note there are a combination of 2-way bus, 1-way bus, and also buses operating on the public streets. So I think I've kind of beat that topic to death. It's horses for courses. Do what fits and what's viable and common sense. During Step 2, Metro will provide RTC with bus networks and associated station stop recommendations so that their consultant can then, through modeling, do patronage forecasting and come up with a cost estimate I told you about. If I could finish and take the liberty of my observation from experience with these types of projects. Like every other city or community, people have moved quickly to advocacy for specific modes for various reasons. This isn't or shouldn't be a debate between bikes, trains, and/or buses, but rather it's an economic question about regional mobility and the decision as to what role public transit can take in any of these corridors and how it serves our greater economy as it relates to commuting, connecting people and jobs and homes. Lastly, technology advances are starting to blur the differences between public transit modes. It's important not to align oneself with steel wheels or rubber wheels. It's starting to disappear as technology evolves. So, again, I'll finish with, rather than align yourself with steel wheels or rubber wheels or trains we used to ride or buses we used to ride or enjoying riding bikes, this really needs to be the debate about the economic opportunities which public transit may or may not present in these corridors. That's my presentation. Happy to answer questions.
I have a question before I go out to the board. Why does it stop at? Why do you stop doing it at Freedom Boulevard or Seacliff? Is that Freedom Boulevard? And Aptos. Why doesn't it go all the way to Watsonville?
Right. In terms of bus rapid transit south of there, the Metro staff's recommendation has been to operate in the freeway corridor because the rail corridor south of that point goes through areas that are not going to be extensive draws of ridership, pretty expensive places to deal with, but particularly we want to serve Watsonville on the way up, and serving Watsonville is Main Street and Freedom and all those things. So it only seems viable from that State Park point north to consider the rail facility corridor.
So if you're in the city of Watsonville, then you just have to figure it out how to get to the train station?
Well, whatever mode, you're either at the Watsonville Transit Center or as the vehicle moves up Main Street or Freedom, you're kind of doing what our buses do today, or whatever mode. But in terms of providing a bus option, we want to move through the community of Watsonville in the normal bus manner.
Yeah, the rail line, right outside Watsonville, it goes through marshes and fields,
right.
So you're not going to have stops.
But I'm saying, like, within the city, I mean, is there going to be any bus getting to the train station itself, or, you know?
Oh, if there happened to be a train station, and maybe I should have said that, in the train alternatives, Metro is going to be providing for their analysis bus feeder network.
Okay, that's what I wanted to do. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I just wanted to say, this is one of the most controversial issues we have in this county now. Many of us are on the Regional Transportation Commission, and we hear it one way or the other, and we have kind of like national politics. It's either or and nothing's in the middle. So I really appreciate us taking a reasonable approach of what we can do and can't do to help this situation where we have so much of the housing development taking place in the South County and the jobs and so forth, many of them, most of them being in the North County or over in Silicon Valley. This is a tremendous, one of the biggest issues that we have in this county, and I think we're responsible to be part of the solution. So I appreciate your saying this is not what we're saying you should do, but I think the Metro can be a real benefit to everybody involved in making this a reasonable solution, and I hope we can get there.
Mr. Rockin.
It seems to me that the only position that we should take, and it seems like an important one, is to not short-circuit this process. There are people out there who are taking the position that we should not even do this process. It's a waste. They write letters to the editor. It's a waste of money. We should just decide right now to make this into a hiking and bicycle path. And I think that is not in our interest as a transit agency. So the outcome could even be no rail, no whatever. But it seems to me it's critical that our position be, let's do the study and figure out what the actual transportation needs are before we come to a quick conclusion to do any of the options that are out there.
I'm no longer on the RTC, so when is the study going to be finished? I know you're on it.
It's expected to be done by fall.
August or this fall?
No, it's probably September or October.
Okay.
Is when it's supposed to be done. I would just say that at the risk of ruining my colleague's reputation, I agree with a lot of what Director McPherson said. And I appreciate the staff participation in this. You know, we purchased this corridor for transportation. It's the last transportation corridor through Santa Cruz County. And so there are physical limits to how wide you can make the highway. We have to look very seriously about how to use this corridor in the best way. This unified corridor study isn't going to come out with an exact recommendation to use it this way or that way. In the end, we're going to have to make some choices based on the information. And we, as the Metro, and then the public at large, and the RTC in specific, is going to have to look at really the transportation issues, not just the recreation issues. So I look forward to that discussion. It's only controversial because people just want to take sides, but if we're really looking at transportation policy, it is incredibly exciting to be able to actually to potentially plan for a transportation corridor. That doesn't happen often. We won't get another chance.
Ms. Lind?
Yeah, the RTC voted December 7th to move forward with the study, so that's not been very long. And I know we've had groups come to our council, and that's been my position as well, is that I don't want to endorse or make a decision until we have all the facts. And there's a lot of money been invested in this study, and all the taxpayers are paying for that study that was promised in the campaign for Major D. So it feels like we'd be short-circuiting the process if, regardless, as a city or as a Metro representative or in any position, to endorse any one. And I agree with also Director Leopold. It's an exciting time, and sadly, there's a lot of emotions come in, and it seems like some of us are being attacked regardless of, for whatever side they think we've taken. So.
Norm, and then Cynthia, and Chase.
I was on the original committee at the RTC who made the purchase of this. My statement then is what it is now. I'm thinking forward to 2040, 2050, a real light rail system can connect us in this county to other areas reasonably and quickly. Just not within our county, but with the entire state and the entire country by rail. It's a possibility, and no, it's not going to be done tomorrow. And there's an awful lot of people who need the transportation rail system, and we can't use a bicycle. And that's a possibility that I thought of then, and it's one that I have now.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Chase.
Yeah, I just want to really appreciate the position that Metro has taken on this, because I know that there has been strong pushes and pulls for Metro to take a very specific position, and I really think that the approach that Barrow just outlined is really an important stance to take in this process that really supports, I think, the comments that have been made here today. It's very thoughtful, very open to looking at different types of transportation modes, not drawing a conclusion too early, and thinking about, I think, the same way we approached when we were looking at our structural deficit. We looked at connectivity and how can we maximize ridership for those who really need to move and have transportation that is reliable, efficient, addressing climate change, all of those kinds of things. So I just really want to acknowledge and appreciate the position that Metro is taking on this. I think it's a really important stance in this part of the process, and really, I think, positions us well as partners in trying to solve our transportation issues regionally.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board? Comments? Questions? Alrighty, so this was just an informational piece, so that's that. Okay, so on to our next item. I think we see Barrow again. So to initiate fair restructuring.
Mr.